Welcome back. I'm certainly glad you could join me today. You ready to do a fantastic little painting with me? Super. Tell you what, let's have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with me. And while they're doing that, let me tell you what I've done. I've got my old standard 18 by 24 inch canvas up here. I've covered it with a thin, even coat of the liquid white, and it's all ready to go. So, drag out your paints or pull up your easy chair, either one, and let's have some fun together. Let's start out today with some Prussian blue. Good, strong, dark blue. Just a little bit of it. Let me say that again, a little bit of it, because it is very strong. On the 2-inch brush, let's go right up here. Let's just drop in a happy little sky. Let's just...
Hey, I'm Kyle. Thanks for joining me and Andy for the Legendary Creature Podcast. So, if you're listening with your kids or your conservative grandma, maybe don't, because we swear.
Or you can check us out on YouTube, because hey, that's no place for conservative old women or children.
Fuck yeah.
Is mixing with the liquid white that's already on the canvas, and automatically your color will get lighter and lighter toward the horizon. And that's exactly what we're looking for today. Let the paint work, the canvas work. Shoot. Take life easy. Just let it go. There we are. Very lightly go across the whole sky. Just take out the brush strokes and bring everything together. Isn't that quick? We got a quick little sky. Very simple, easy.
It's funny talking about. It's funny doing all the guilds, because there's a lot of guilds where you and I barely have any experience.
And Gruul is one of them.
Gruul is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Do you think that we could do this entire episode without swearing?
No.
You're not even going to try it? You're not even going to try it? I'm going to try it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to try to get through
I swear
the most barbaric guild episode with the least barbaric use of language.
I tend to swear in spurts where like it just comes out of me a lot, and then there's other times where I just have stretches where I can't be bothered with swearing. But do it, dude.
Okay,
Good luck.
We'll see if we
Good
can
luck.
We see you. If anyone can pull it off, it's you. You know, like I'll just pretend my grandma's sitting right next to you right now. Which, you know, she probably
Andrew, I didn't know you used that kind of language.
Dude, I've compartmentalized my like familial identity for a long time, and so effectively that one time, so when she was kind of like her health was degrading or whatever, she was living with my parents upstairs, and I had, you know, brought this chick over, and we went downstairs. So I was like 20.
Sure.
I think I was 20. But I was actually moving out like the next day. Like I had gotten an apartment. Like I was just moving out of my parents'
time
basement.
to graduate to adulthood.
Yeah, which, you know, anyway, but she was upstairs and my aunt was there with her taking care of them because my parents were out of town.
Oh, okay.
And I could just hear my aunt just like pacing back and forth, like losing her mind that I was downstairs with this girl, you know, and
she's like, this is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, she was right. I was setting to work on her for sure. But I remember going upstairs because I had a sense of what was going on. And my grandma was just like, is that my Andy? Like she was acting like she didn't even recognize me. Like it was just because I have just ran this campaign for so long, you know, that
you're just an asexual grandson.
Pretty much, yeah. Like she just could not wrap her head around it. You know, she was old school. I remember just being like, I went back downstairs. I'm like, I'm going to take you home, you know? And
it's making everybody so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it just was.
Yeah, I think you and I both, if our parents ever discovered this podcast, we would both be mortified.
Yeah, because we've compartmentalized so much, pretty much. All right, Gruul.
All
right, let's talk about that girl. I mean, Gruul. I mean,
the one that's hanging out in your bedroom in the basement, dude?
Yeah. So it's the red and black. Red and green.
And we did that last week, dude.
Red and purple color identity. So it's a red and green color identity. The Christmas colors for Christmas.
Cherry Christmas, everyone.
What do we want to say, man? How do we frame it? What do we say about?
Like I think the first thing that comes to my mind is just massive damage output in some way, shape, or form associated with creatures.
Okay. I would agree. I'd say like from just a aesthetic profile, it's less civilized. It's less civilized in
true.
coloring. People are wearing scraps of clothing. There's feathers sticking out of orifices. Like things are just, a little.
The Markovs probably aren't inviting anybody from the Gruul to one of their house parties sometime.
Yeah, they're definitely third world, and we're not even really just. I actually want to say like that's not unique to just the plane of Ravnica.
Oh
like,
no,
if you walk on over to like
like
Tarkir, the Temur were kind of hanging out in the mountains. They had a lot of like bone and tooth and fur looking stuff.
Innistrad, it's the werewolves.
Yeah. So they've definitely pushed that pretty hard. Shamans, druids.
Yeah, Theros is like it's the revels, right?
Oh yeah,
the god of the revels.
I love that. Actually, that shit was dope. That's probably the coolest like use of an antagonist in a lot of their stories.
I think so too.
Oh, hey, turns out it's just some red-black or red-green, party animal that just is getting in everybody's way and disrupting things, and
somehow he ascended to become the divine.
Yeah, I loved it. So play style, yeah, you're kind of thinking like high damage, but dependent on a creature.
Yeah, to me, it's dependent on a creature in some way.
And then yeah, kind of aesthetically, we're looking at barbarism.
So there's usually a lot of destruction that would be associated with these colors as well, in addition to damage. It would be another thing that I would think of.
Yeah. Let me give you my kind of 2 cents on the guild. So if we go to the Gruul staples on EDH Rec, so not the commanders,
but
just the staples. Minusing Soul Ring because it's in the top 10 for every identity.
Sure.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the top 10 cards are just mono green. None of those cards
them are mono
red, and only one. I guess
two out of the top 10.
Now that they're saying Rhythm of the Wild is a staple, but even though it's 60% of 10 decks are using it, so that
okay.
So to me, and this is just, and I'm not. I'll kind of expand on my description further, but to me, Gruul is just mono green with red. Like it has a lot of the same attributes. Like mono green, like green is definitely the alpha. Alpha personality out of the two.
I wonder if that'll be manifest in the decks that we talk about today.
Well, we'll see.
That'll be interesting to find out.
All right, commander time. Let's go to the top commanders, dude. Hit us off. What's the
so the number
commander?
one Gruul commander coming in with over 2,300 decks is Omnath, Locus of Rage.
Dude, the art on that card, man.
It's pretty dope, right?
Yeah, I like his like weird wiry looking fingers, and he's just I don't know,
just elemental.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's the landfall one. So you get a fucking 5. Oh, there's a swear word, dude.
Oh, it's just me.
I know. I just swore though. I'm like that was my first one.
We're gonna have to put a buzzer sound in this thing. Beep it out.
We like just do one clean episode so we can share it with people.
I'm gonna just be talking slow and deliberate. And this is now we can't remove the explicit label on this episode.
You're welcome. So yeah, this is the one with landfall where you get a 5/5 elemental, and then Omnath himself does damage whenever elementals die.
Yeah, he's a robust strategy.
Yeah,
you almost can't go wrong with this guy, right?
It's true.
We've gone up against him like
There's been some games where I'm like, holy crap!
A lot of the time you just die to that second ability. A lot of the time it ain't the 5/5.
You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. Definitely. Like this is one of those commanders where like he's gonna get his elementals. You don't want him to have these big giant 5/5s, but you're gonna take 3 damage if you get rid of them. So.
Omnath definitely challenges the notion that green is not a go wide. Well, I mean, no one's. I don't think anyone's ever said that green is not a go wide because you have like sapperlings and
and you have
Zendikar and elves. Like
yeah. But I think there's a lot of places where maybe you go tall with green,
and they're 5/5s.
Yeah,
so you are kind of going tall. at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, next one is Xenagos, God of Revels. Some people call him Xenagod because at one point he was a planeswalker. He's probably one of the only ones that have gone backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So it seems
Because
like a lot of characters develop into
because Obnixilis
planeswalkers.
lost his spark, right? And then was reignited.
We've had like the flip walkers, like, oh, look, this was Kytheon.
Yeah, Liliana, like
Yeah, Liliana, the whatever,
before she poisoned her brother.
Yeah, the Liliana the nun turns into Liliana the zombie, you know.
It's really hard not to swear, isn't it?
I know. It's all right. Okay, I'm hanging on. We're this far in. I'm looking at the clock. We're 11 minutes and 5 seconds into this. But yeah, anyway, Xenagos originally was a planeswalker, and then he like turned into a god.
Yeah.
So rather than going, did he maintain his spark? Like, do you remember that from like the story?
I don't
at
know.
all,
I don't
or?
recall that from the story if he maintained his spark or not.
So I mean, why leave when you're the god of?
Yeah, seriously.
So anyway, Xenagos, God of Revels, is 3, a red and a green. He's a legendary enchantment creature, god, indestructible. Yeah, whenever your devotion, whatever, he devotes at 7 like all the other ones of his class. But the big thing is that he doubles your target's power, or your target creature's power, and they gain haste at the same time. He's a 6/5, so he is extremely aggressive.
Oh yeah,
extremely aggressive commander.
The thing about something like this is it also gives them a fat bottom. So it seems to me a lot of cases like that where you're aggressively giving something an extra power. It's just the power, but it's like it's plus X plus X.
So the blocks are even disfavored. Like he's definitely all in on going tall.
Yeah.
Very pinpoint levels of damage.
Yeah, number 3 coming in is Rurik Thar the Unbowed.
So we drop off a lot of decks here. We go from 1459 to 820.
Yeah, to 820. It's true. It's a steep drop off. This one though, it just punishes non-creature spells.
Yeah.
So it deals 6 damage to any player that casts non-creature spells, including yourself.
And he's vigilance, he's reach, and he has to attack each turn of Fable. So he's definitely asking you to be aggressive with him.
Yeah.
I think what will be built with this one is he's the anti-blue commander.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like a clear check to anyone who's messing around with instant sorceries, I guess even enchantments.
Oh yeah.
Artifacts. Like he's just a clear like speed bump.
You need to deal with this before you play your own game plan.
Yeah, because if you go to like the top cards for him, aside from like the new ones, it's a lot of like, you know, like the Manglehorn is his signature card. It comes in, destroys an artifact, and then your opponent's artifacts come in tapped. Like to give you an idea,
slow you down.
Yeah, he's got like fight. Like I think they're trying to make utility of a lot of the creatures that come in. Like they have like a lot of destroy abilities. What is crazy with him is that if you resolve a possibility storm, it's pretty wild.
Oh,
it's pretty wild with him. It's probably like there's a few non-creature spells with him that make it worth the 6 damage to yourself. Also, if he gains lifelink, it like just kind of cancels that out.
Yeah, you're
too.
like whatever.
But getting him lifelink usually means you have to cast a non-creature spell.
Sure.
But possibility storm, they cast on both sides of it. So pretty much like what ends up happening is they cast like, let's say they cast an instant. It's cast.
So they're going to take
into exile. They shuffle down or exile till they run into the next instant. That one is cast.
So they lose 12 for some random spell.
So he would see these spells go off twice. So
That's crazy.
He'd do 12 to that person. It applies to you too. So when you cast your creature, if you have a heavily utility based creature,
you need to be ready to play a little chaotically.
I mean, hey, you cast your acidic slime and it might possibility into a Manglehorn. I don't know. I could see.
Or I could see. Mystic.
It's only done it's only used in 18% of his decks, but good God, the damage output from that.
Sheesh, that's kind of bonkers. Honestly.
Down from him is Wort the Raidmother. So it's 4 and 2 hybrid, red or green, for a legendary creature, Goblin Shaman. So she has this interesting ability that interacts with instants and sorcery. So she's kind of an oddball.
Yeah, that is a little.
From what we've seen so far, we've got
they're
go tall, play lands.
Yeah, they're all kind of like different because Xenagos is pretty focused on just getting an aggressive creature. Omnath, lands play, Rurik Thar. Let's just play lots of creature spells. Very different.
And then below her, you have Mina and Den.
Yes. So
Mina and Den, Wildborn, 2 a red and a green. You may play an additional land for each of your turns. So they actually give you another land play.
Yeah.
But you can pay a red and a green. It says return land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. They're a 4/4. Weirdly, they're in the staples for Gruul.
Yeah, because it just stabilizes things, right? Like you can start
extra land play.
playing extra lands.
I really like these two as or these. This
it's
card
one of those cards
it's
that's
one of those
two
cards
people.
that's a people, but I like this card as a commander.
Yeah,
I would
we
actually say
saw it
it's
briefly,
just as
right?
good, if not better, in some cases than Azusa.
Oh man. I mean, you have a lot more flexibility than because you add this new color than you do with Azusa, right?
Yeah, right.
I agree.
And she's not, how much is Azusa? This is a $2
Well, there was a
card.
reprint a couple years ago, but even still, I think it's an expensive
Okay,
card.
who's the next one?
So after that, we actually end up with Ulrich. So Ulrich of the Krallen Horde.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is the werewolf one. That
Oh
I
my
think,
god, dude! There is a werewolf commander. They Oh my.
Don't get your hopes up too much, Andy.
Oh my.
Yeah. So enters the battlefield or transforms. Target creature gets +4/+4 to the end of turn.
Until end of turn.
Until end of turn.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
And then, of course, it has its whole transformation thing. So, the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast this turn, transform Ulrich.
Okay.
So that's typical werewolf stuff.
Okay.
When it's transformed, whenever this creature transforms into Ulrich, uncontested alpha, you may have it fight another non-werewolf creature you don't control. That's it. Switches back if somebody casts 2 or more spells.
Wow, man. Somebody should probably write Wizards and say that this is not a very good werewolf.
But people wanted a werewolf so bad
That this is what we got.
that there's 562 decks.
Yeah, they do. They wanna live that dream. I remember playing werewolf because you remember this is when we started playing the game.
Yeah, it was in Innistrad.
It was Innistrad, the first go around. And I remember feeling like this was a really cool tribe. It's really strange to see some of the exact same cards in a standard deck from how long ago was that now? Back in 2011, 12?
2011, 12, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. So almost 7-8 years ago in a commander deck way up here. So different format, long time ago.
But the only cards that fit into it come from
the set that supported it, and then you've got a commander that just inherently any kind of double casting like that flips them over. It's hard, man. It's hard to keep them in their werewolf form.
Yeah, I mean there is that one. What is it? The Immer wolf that keeps them when they're transformed.
Yeah, weirdly, who isn't a werewolf? But
Yeah.
it's a really neat idea and tribe. I think what would have fixed it is a commander that said anytime a werewolf transforms, something happens.
Yeah.
So it makes your opponents kind of hesitate to have them flip over. So let's say each werewolf dealt 3 damage to anything.
Yeah.
Like literally anything. So if they flip over back from werewolf to human or human to werewolf, or have 2 different. So if they go from human to werewolf and your commander's out, let's say I don't want to say draw a card, but you probably need it. So anytime you go from human to werewolf, you draw a card. But if you ever go from werewolf to human, it deals 3 damage or something.
Something like that.
Something.
It's
something that deters your opponents but encourages you. And maybe that would get us there. And then, the werewolf commander himself is a fucking badass. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been
a
nice.
double-sided card. We have a lot of space for language.
Exactly. You can have a variety of things going on.
Yeah, and I think the color combination could handle a more complex commander out here. I mean,
it's honestly kind of like a token commander, right? It's the legendary werewolf so that you can have your werewolf themed deck.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to be super quality.
It definitely is that.
It's just there.
Yeah. I was talking to Chris today and we were kind of going, we were just talking about EDH rec and because he's just like looking at different things and he had noticed something where I I can't remember what we were talking about, but there was just like he's looking at the Scarab God. And he's like, there's just a lot of weird cards that show up on this list. I just don't know if they're the best, but I think, well, I gotta trust the data. I better just put it in there. And yeah, so one commander actually stuck out to me of the don't trust EDH rec for this kind of thing.
Okay.
The original Nikki B.
Oh, okay.
So you know what he does, right? So basically, like when he hits you, your opponent, the person that he hits, discards their hand.
Right.
Like it's pretty potent, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
except for, isn't there a steep cost to keep him?
Yeah, there is that like overarching repetitive demand to keep him in play. He's a shit ton of mana.
Yeah.
You know, he's 8 mana, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 8 mana. So 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red.
Yeah. And then it says at the beginning of your upkeep, you will sacrifice him unless you pay blue, black, red.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much like taxed, pre-tax, tax. You got to pay his like medical insurance to keep him in play. And if he ever leaves, anyway.
He's got a premium.
Yeah, he's got a premium on him. And then whenever Nicol Bolas deals combat damage to an opponent, that player discards his or her hand. He's a 7/7. What do you think if I was like, Kyle, make me a Nikki B deck right now out of this commander? Where would you go with that?
I have no idea. And I fucking hate Grixis because I feel like I can't ever figure out where I should be sitting.
Well, don't you think like, man, you're kind of ruining my thing here. Okay. Wouldn't you go for like Geth's Grimoire?
Yeah, I probably would
like,
because there's a lot of discard type
if
stuff.
we look at his language.
Like let me put in like Waste Knot and stuff like that.
Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Let's put Waste Knot in. Let's do maybe Megrim or
Liliana's Caress.
Yeah, let's hit that because it makes sense for the discard. But when you open up the file for him on
I'm not
EDH
seeing
Rec,
any of that stuff.
it's just Nikki B, Dark Imitation, Nicol Bolas the Deceiver.
It's just your Nicol Bolas
Cruel
theme
Ultimatum,
deck.
which has Nikki B in the art. Fraying Omnipotence, which has Nikki B in the art. Crux of Fate. Crux of Fate makes sense. Crux of Fate with the Torment at Hellfire.
Hour of Devastation, like
the Eldest Reborn. It could be the Ravager. Like it's just
what the hell,
it's just
dude?
Nikki B tribal.
There's 708 decks.
So
like you think the data would kind of like push that somewhere else.
yeah, so just to kind of
what the
relate
fuck?
this back to Ulrich of the Kralin Horde, like people want to role play so bad sometimes that they're willing to make 562 not that great werewolf decks and 700. How many Nikki B decks are there? 700 plus.
Yeah.
High CMC. Like, yeah, I don't know.
That's really weird.
And I love it.
I mean, the nice thing is that there are like tribes and themes that kind of allow you to break down stuff on EDH Rec, to be fair to the site, because we use them daily.
I know, but it does say like this is the most of average of this.
Yeah,
this
that's
card.
weird.
If you don't switch the settings, like if you don't ask it, because how many of those decks are discard? Does it have a percentage? Where discard is the theme of the deck, where
5.6%.
Okay, you get what I mean? And it doesn't even need to be discard, I guess. Like it could be just like a tempo kind of thing, like
Sure.
making them gatting their hand and having a huge 7/7 in play where they have no answers is
Yeah.
pretty potent. So
Yeah.
my focus, if I was like gonna build the OG Nicol Bolas deck, would be get the mana advantage to cover my costs and premiums.
Yeah.
You know, to buy the house that is Nikki B, and then
You got to get fire insurance. It's a fucking dragon, dude.
yeah, fire and deception insurance. Yeah. All right. We ready to hit? I mean, there's more down the line.
Yeah. So I actually have one more question, because last week when we were talking about Rakdos,
Okay.
I kind of posed the idea or thought that maybe the identity of Rakdos is too diffuse. And to me, I'm kind of looking at the top commanders of Gruul, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of different things these commanders are trying to do.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I don't actually feel like it's problematic here. So maybe I'm eating some crow here, but I don't know. Like, do you feel like Gruul is diffuse? Do you feel like you have what you want if you're using these colors?
Honestly, yeah, I think I do. I think you can go wide with Grand Warlord Rada You can do +1/+1 counter stuff with Ulash the Hate Seed. I mean, these are not powerful options.
Yeah.
You have some kind of big hurly-burly throwing things with Throwmok the Insatiable. You have a pretty good Voltron with Atarka the World Render.
Yeah.
You want to do X spells? I guess you could do Roshin the Meanderer.
Yeah,
Who's just a big-ass mana rock for I just said ass, dude.
Oh.
Oh my god, what's the time code? It's 25. I couldn't even. I'm a quarter
you
of the
last
way
25
through
minutes before you swear.
Fuck, dude. God, all right, I'll try again next time. God damn it. Sorry, Grandma. All right, so yeah, I mean, you got a lot of options. You know, there's some places you can go. I think with Rakdos, it was just like there was some different ones, but
yeah, there's some different ones, but some of them that feel. I think you and I felt limited in trying to pull off what we wanted to do with some of those commanders. You know, like we're just like you're kind of trudging through mud a little bit, but I don't know. Gruul feels, to talk reference back to our Simic discussion, it feels decently lubricated.
One of our viewers on YouTube said something about Rakdos that really touched me, man. It touched me
in the heart.
So the guy's name is Siberium. He said, they need to make more Rakdos cards, ones that mess up with all the walls and control and pretense. For a mostly multiplayer game, it's a boredom to watch everyone sit behind a fortress till combos fire off. I'm like, you're fucking right, dude. Like they need, and I don't know, that stuck with me with the deck that I'm gonna do today. I'm like, I'm just gonna bring that whole ideation over to this thing. Because it's just, like if these colors can't combo, then they should just be the antibody to combo. You know what I mean?
That's
like
a good point.
If you're not going to let them go off like how these other colors can and wall up and, like he puts it, do their pretense and be pretentious, then let them do what they should be doing, which is just smash that shit to pieces.
Yeah.
And again, one of the biggest limiting things of, the format is MLD is frowned upon, right?
Sure.
I think Boros isn't allowed to be as good as it could if it didn't have to
engage in mass land destruction.
Unsavory. It's so weird because Stacks is
functionally the same.
Splitting hairs here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. Like, I mean, there is a difference, and I know what that is. Like, if you remove the permanent that's locking your stuff down, like the static orb and the winter orb, like you're back online.
Sure.
But come on.
Yeah, like what are the chances you're gonna get that chance?
What's the chances of that deck actually letting that happen if it's being piloted correctly? But anyway, I don't know. I just thought about that comment when I was working on this deck, and I'm like, I really just want to push,
want to fuck with people.
Yeah, I just want to push people away, And the other problem is that if that's all you're doing, you can't forward your own resources. A lot of the time, if you're we talk about this kind of in earlier episodes that there's the card equity, they call it card advantage, but every time you release a card to remove someone else's, the person that did not participate in that.
Yeah, the other people that don't participate.
Yeah, and the only way you're really going to get it, I guess, is where it's one card to all of your opponents. So things like Vandal Blast, like things like that are really great.
Yeah.
But then again, you're not allowed to advance your board state any further. You're just kind of touring people
you've
down.
regressed everybody else rather than progressing yourself.
Yeah, so I don't know how to solve that problem, without making cards that are really good. But then those other types of decks just stealing them too, because they would want those as well.
Oh yeah.
You know, other than like just a commander, and that's how that's what he's about.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. What were we gonna do next?
Let's dive into some commanders because you and I both have some decks.
Yeah,
right?
we have some decks. I want to hear about yours, dude.
Yeah,
yours has been itching my brain.
Yeah, this one got interesting. So I actually took the new Gruul commander that came from Ravnica Allegiance.
Okay.
Let me just read her off, except for I got to get my deck list pulled up before I can fucking do this.
Yeah, I just watched your laptop get really dark. Did it shut off or something?
No, I just moved to a dark page.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm just not fully prepared.
It's the centaur chick, yeah?
It's the centaur chick. Will you read it off while I get to my deck list?
Yeah, I've got Nikya of the old ways, yeah?
Yeah, Nikya or Nikaya. I don't know how to say these fictional names, dude.
Nikya. Sorry.
There's an umlaut on there.
Yeah.
Nikya.
Yeah, so it's 3, a red and a green for legendary creature Centaur Druid. She's a 5/5. You can't cast non-creature spells, but whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. So holy shit, she's
very particular.
She definitely is. She definitely is. The art is way cool too. I love the art on that.
Yeah, the
cover.
art's dope.
Yeah, good old.
The art's dope.
Good,
Like
good old Ryan Pancoast.
I'm not even really familiar with that artist, but cool.
All right. Well, what's the plan?
So
with this?
here's the thing about this commander.
Is it going to be creature tribal, dude?
Turns out.
Is it going to be creature tribal, my dude?
Guess how many creatures are in my deck, Andy?
64?
62.
62.
Guess how many lands are in here?
38. 38. 38.
There's
so you
lands
didn't do a single non-creature spell.
and creatures. There's not a single non-creature spell in this deck.
How hard was that?
Now that created a very interesting, because I don't think you necessarily have to force yourself into doing that. You might have a handful of useful non-creature spells that you would be inclined to include with a commander like this, and you could probably justify it.
Yeah. Probably enchants, artifacts, stuff that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I just kind of took the approach of, you know what, I want to try and see. I want to engage this as kind of just a little thought exercise. Can I replace all of the things that I would normally put into a deck with just creatures that accomplish those functions?
Well, with how, standard formats go, it's becoming more and more of an eventuality. Creatures act more like spells than they ever have.
It's true.
Comparative to old school Magic.
It's true. It's true. And so to me, it was actually kind of enlightening. And so let's kind of go through some of the problems here, like in standard, like in your normal deck building functions, right? Like, what are the normal things that we want to put in there? Well, card draw. And there's some things that I think stand out if you're playing like a creature-centric deck that, yeah, you're just going to put them in there that kind of fills in some of that space. So things like the Beast Whisperer that recently came out, like it just stands to reason. It's 2 and 2 green. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Awesome. Like I was going to put that in this deck no matter what.
So now you've functionally put together Zendikar Resurgent.
Yes.
Because your commander doubles your mana, and now you've got...
Now I've got a creature that says I'm going to draw a card.
So
that has
built
the 2
your
functions.
Own. Yeah, you built your own.
Don't need
creatures.
that 7 mana enchant. I've got 2 creatures for 9.
UNITY spells unity, dude.
And then, of course, there's other things like the Primordial Sage.
Okay.
Same thing. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card.
Okay.
Regal Force. Whenever Regal Force enters the battlefield, draw a card for each green creature you control. Guess what?
So it's like your shamanic revelation.
Yeah. Guess what, Andy?
What? It's probably mostly green.
This deck is very green.
Hey, what did I say, man? It's definitely the alpha, and the alpha.
It's like 75% green.
Yeah, in the alpha.
I have another thread that I'll talk about when I get kind of through this deck that I think would add more red to the list.
Okay.
But yeah, it's primarily green. So like Soul of the Harvest is another one. But when you're trying to fill in the complete package of card draw spells, like, yeah, it would make sense if you're playing creatures. I'd probably want to run a Rishkar's Expertise or is it Rishkar's Expertise? Yeah, Rishkar's Expertise, Hunter's Insight, things like that.
Yeah, your classic green draw stuff.
But you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, I don't actually want to put those in my deck because it could be dead cards and the antithesis of what I need. Rather, if I've got my commander out, I draw that and I want to get card draw.
Yeah.
So trying to fill out that card draw package gets a little interesting. And so a deck like this actually like it's kind of fun to put in something like the Heartwood Storyteller, kind of a crazy card to put into most decks.
What does that one do again?
So it's 1 and 2 green for a 2/3 tree folk. It says whenever a player plays a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card.
That's actually way dope for her, though.
It's awesome here.
You'll
never contribute to other players.
The bad side of that, yeah.
You're only going to be the beneficiary of this one. So normally it's kind of crazy, but because we need to fill in our card draw package,
Yeah.
and we just so happen to have this really weird deck that only has creature spells, something like this fits in really, really well.
All right.
I filled in some other things. Like I thought, you know what? Let me try out the tireless tracker to kind of get myself some clues, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, like,
Because you're playing lands like innately.
yeah, the deck is going to bring in lands. We're playing green, like it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit higher density of lands. The other thing is that, so if we're talking about just our normal deck building track and path that we're going on,
Okay.
you're probably then moving on to removal spells,
Okay.
which, either enchant and artifact removal or your creature removal. And it would be it's really easy to rely on instants and sorceries for those types of things,
Sure.
right? Like, let's get that naturalized, let's get that Croson grip and put those things into the deck. But when you're trying to fill that out with the creatures, maybe you got to be a little more creative. I mean, obviously in these colors, like you've got Acidic Slime, Bane of Progress that you can use. But I thought, let's push this really heavily. Null Mage Shepherd is going to go crazy because there's only creatures in this deck.
What does that one do?
So Null Mage Shepherd. It's 3 and a green for an elf shaman. It is a 2/4. It says tap 4 untapped creatures you control, destroy target artifact or enchantment.
This is really good with Seedborn Muse and any kind of token. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. What's not good with Seedborn Muse?
It's true. What's not?
Yeah,
What's not?
This one is good.
This one's very good.
Whatever is out there that's not good with Seedborn Muse, I have yet to find it. But this is not one of those.
So we'll come back and talk Seedborn Muse a little bit. But Null Mage Shepherd, you're right. Like exactly. Like on surface, even just playing a bunch of creature spells and having the Null Mage Shepherd, we're probably going to be in a position where we can do a lot of spot like enchant and artifact removal alone. The Seedborn Muse just sets that on fire, right?
What's cool about the Null Mage Shepherd is that creatures that come in that aren't going to be attacking.
Yeah, it's her ability, not theirs, right?
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Because now they do something. They do contribute to some kind of advancement.
Yeah, summoning sickness doesn't matter because...
Or not advancement, quality of life, removing shit. They give you something.
Yeah, for keeping up with the Joneses, like you can go take a shit on the Joneses' yard with an Null Mage Shepherd, right?
That's a new outlook on keeping up with the Joneses, bringing the Joneses down to your level.
Exactly. They've got a dead spot on their lawn now, too. Yeah, and then ramp becomes the other thing. Like, obviously, there's a lot of creature-based ramp that you can include into a deck, but when you're looking to, I think it constrains you a little bit when you're like, okay, let me look at
only creatures.
Only creatures. I'm not going to use rampant growth. I'm not going to use, like numerous instants and sorceries.
Yeah, there's just so many. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's an interesting exercise. Like, it's not going to be some amazing revelation to everybody, I'm sure, to try and fill all these things out and realize, oh, I can accomplish all of these basic functions that a commander deck needs to fulfill with only creatures.
But at twice the speed.
But now
you're cooking with kerosene for sure.
Exactly. Like everything's lit up because there comes this point where you get your commander out and all of a sudden you just accelerate way past everybody. It's kind of interesting.
I say kerosene because it's not quite gas because you do have to use only creatures.
You gotta control the burn a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. So my dad used to work as so he was a cartographer for the Forest Service, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that he would do is in the summertime during fire season, he would go work on wildfires. He'd map the progress of them, map the hot spots so they knew where to like fight things and stuff. But he's this guy that's just sitting in a trailer at a computer for 14 hours a day while all these firefighters are out
risking their lives.
Yeah. And, but he's hanging out in the same camp as these guys. And he's like, what do firefighters do when they're just hanging out? Light stacks of pallets on fire with napalm. He was talking about him like dumping a bunch of napalm on a fucking stack of
that is so strange to me.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We're fighting fires. Let's light a big fire.
So they're all pyromaniacs.
Yeah, they're all pyromaniacs.
They get like they want to be near fire.
Yeah, it's like you just spent all day fighting this dangerous forest fire. You're in camp and you light the biggest fire possible for your for your
I
campfire.
wonder if anyone's ever asked like a firefighter, like, what is your emotion when the fire is finally put out? Is it disappointment or is it relief? Like, okay, we won. Or is it some like weird like alpha mentality? It's like, yeah, you know,
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
like,
like-
that is a little
like,
bit of an interesting...
fuck you, fire. I showed
I'll
you.
beat you.
Yeah, I showed
I'm
you.
gonna go find
who's
another one
boss
and
or
fuck it up.
something. Yeah.
So that's half of the discussion, I think, about Nikya that I think is very fascinating, is how do I accomplish everything that I need to accomplish with a commander deck using only creatures? Fascinating exploration. But I think the other side that's posed with her is, what do I do with all this fucking mana?
Yeah. What do you do?
Because you will have a lot of it. What do I do with all these creatures and all this fucking mana? And as I kind of started exploring this, I was seeing a lot of, just the same value kind of stuff that you would expect a lot of people to put in their lists. Let's just play Gruul kind of good stuff in terms of creatures. But it felt to me like there's a little more that we could do that's maybe, I don't know. I'm sure it'll manifest more and more as this commander goes forward in time. But I kind of thought like, well, let's focus on activated abilities on creatures and try to abuse those in some way.
It's not a bad idea.
Shape or form. So you mentioned one aspect of this. So obviously activated abilities come in two ways. There's the tap variety
With no mana barrier.
and then there are the mana sinks where you're just throwing mana into them.
Where they don't tap.
They don't tap necessarily. And you get some kind of benefit from it, but the barrier is just how much mana do you have,
Okay.
right? So the first one, let's talk about tap untap type stuff first. You mentioned Seedborn Muse, so let's throw that into the deck so that we can kind of just at least have some instances of getting things untapped for ourselves. If you're new to the game, here it is. 3/2 green, untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step.
Broke.
It's a 2/4, it's a spirit. It is broke. So all of those things that like we just talked about, the Null Mage Shepherd, okay, now we do that on every person's turn.
Yeah,
We just
very little downside to doing that.
we do the Gruul
if none
thing
at all.
and wreck everybody else's board state. Like you
Mhm.
don't get to have enchants and artifacts now. So something else that I've used this in my Sachi deck, I think it's a good one to include here. It's the Patron of the Arachi. Steep cost, but with our commander, we'll overcome that barrier. So it's 6 and 2 green for a 7/7 spirit. It has Snake Offering. I don't think that's going to be applicable here, but it says you may play this card anytime you could play an instant by sacrificing a snake.
So you give it flash.
So you give it flash
Huh.
functionally. But the big thing here is it has tap, untap all forests and all green creatures. Play this ability only once each turn.
Whoa.
So
All forests and green creatures. That's
Yeah.
pretty dope.
So I was kind of like noodling through this a little bit. Like, just think about it. If you have your commander and 4 forests out, well, you've got 8 mana available to you. Like, that's another big spell or a couple mediocre sized spells that you can cast just with that alone.
On one rotation. Because the 4 forest with her gives you
Yeah, it's 8.
So tap that, goes up to 16.
Yeah. And remember,
It's a good thing
It's-
you
it-
can't
and-
do Green Sun Zenith or
and-
Tooth and Nail.
and notice this, like if you, right. But notice like this actually goes quite nicely with, like like notice the language on this. Untap all forests and all green creatures. It is a green creature
But you can only activate it once a turn.
once each turn.
So it's self-limiting, but it is untapped. It's a 7/7.
But you can use this on each other player's turn as well.
Yeah.
And so your mana sinks and things like that are available
Or
to you
being reset in a
on
big way.
every turn. So Patron of Varachi, like, yeah, it has a steep cost to it, but like I said, with this commander, that's
No.
overcome easily.
Well, yeah, really like a good way to think about this deck is, well, there's probably 2 ways, right? Like one way would be to, when you evaluate a creature, just cut its cost in half because
Yeah.
you have twice the mana.
Yeah.
Or they stay the same, but you can resolve 2 in a turn, I guess.
Yeah.
Like however you want to think about that.
conceptualize it that way.
Yeah.
So another one that's kind of interesting with some of the untapped stuff would be the Magus of the Candelabra. So it's just 1 green for this thing, and it's a human wizard. It has power and toughness of 1/2.
green wizard, huh?
Yeah.
He's out of his element.
So it has pay X, tap, untap X target lands. So this functions nicely with Nikya because you can tap all your lands down and use you can use half of the mana that's in your pool from that to dump into the Magus of the Candelabra's activated ability and untap all your lands.
Oh, whoa.
So you're getting functionally like this amount of mana that you have like kind of
Goes up to 3.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a weird thing, but it works really well with this commander. Works super well. If you have other untapped stuff with this guy, like I haven't built any combos into this really,
But there's ones that exist.
but
definitely.
this guy with the commander, you could definitely build some combo town type stuff.
Damn.
That would be very, very, very interesting. There's some others that allow you to untap like a couple lands that you might include in the list, but those are the major untap ones. So since we're untapping stuff with these things and we're trying to take advantage of tapping in our deck, what are some of the places we want to take advantage of taps? One of the best ones for this deck is just going to be the Fauna Shaman. So 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf shaman. It has the activated ability of pay green, tap, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So yeah, you have to discard, but
You're finding quality every time.
Exactly. You're getting the best thing that's available that you want for the situation you're in currently. We talked about the Null Mage Shepherd. Something like the Somber Wild Sage is another one that's going to give us a lot of mana. So it's 2 and a green for a human druid. It has tap, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool.
Let me ask you, since we're talking Mana Dork a little bit with her.
Sure.
Wouldn't you favor ones like the Argothian Elder and things like that over like Llanowar Elves?
Yes. And so
Because they untap.
Yeah, so there's
lands.
the Argothian Elder that untaps 2 lands. There's another one that came from Battle Bond that does the exact same thing.
There's a Croson Restorer.
Yeah. So there's things like that.
Satyr Wayfinder? Is that the one?
I think that might be the one.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a really good thing to point out, Andy, that because rather than having like a Llanowar elf that taps and gives you green, an Argothian Elder taps and untaps 2 lands.
And it's 4.
And that turns into 4 mana for you, right? With your commander out.
Yeah, assuming.
But even still, like, yeah, it's not a 1-drop, but because I think the Argothian Elder's 4 mana, if I recall.
Yeah, they're higher costs for sure.
But the return on your investment is much, much higher. Yeah, like that's a really good point.
But, since you're running only creatures, I don't think you're going to miss anything by including both.
Yeah. And so something else I'll notice, some of my ramp, like I was careful to, I think there's probably debates people have about the usefulness of Mana Dorks. Because our commander doubles our mana output of lands, I did make sure that there's things like the Yavimaya Elder and stuff like that put lands into play.
So you were like wanting Wood Elf.
Yeah, Wood Elf.
Sakura Tribe Elder.
Exactly.
So because you want the lands.
Yeah, but something like, but like you said, the Argothian Elder and things like that, those definitely should be here, and they're very, very beneficial with this commander.
But I'll say this, like if your commander's out, cut their because they are 4 mana, but really they're 2.
They're 2. Yeah.
With her.
Yeah, they are. And it's worthwhile to put in things that provide haste. So putting in like Urabrask.
They are 4 mana. Sorry, I guess just like your
2
land,
lands.
Yeah,
they're 4 mana, but it takes
probably shouldn't go
tapping 2
too far
lands.
down that road, but you kind of get the idea.
Sure,
like the
sure.
commitment of permanence is less, I suppose.
Exactly. Like
and then
your
when they come
output
into
is
play,
greater.
they're buying you way more lunch than the Llanowar elf did.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I think that's a really good thing to draw attention to. So then we could also look at things like the Ulvenwald Tracker that allows us to do some creature removal. So the Ulvenwald Tracker, it's green, but it has an activated ability of 1 and a green, tap, target creature you control fights another target creature.
We're on Gruul. We'll probably be on top of.
Yeah, we're going to have bigger creatures. And you've pointed out, I think, that it's something like 75% of commanders have a toughness of 4 or less. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or less than 4?
I can't remember who said it, but yeah, it's 75% of the top like 20 commanders. They have pretty low toughness and strength values.
Yeah.
Like if you think about them, it's like there's Carador, which is a 3/4, Mizzix, which is a 2/2, Maren, which I think she's a 2/4 or a 3/4. Like a lot of them aren't even touching 5.
Yeah.
Traxa, who's a 4/4, but she's death touch.
She's death touch,
but
sure.
you get it. Like a lot of them can be dealt with.
And considering what we're doing, where we're dealing in large mana outputs in this deck, like you said, we should always have a bigger creature.
One would hope, yeah.
Post board wipe, yeah, like prepare to get redeveloped for a little while. But the Ulvenwald Tracker is perfect because if we're getting those untaps from something like a Seedborn Muse or the Patron of the Arachi, we can fight each turn.
And you need it because you don't have a lot of...
Yeah, like you need to clear the path.
Because you're not in really Red's way of dealing with creatures.
No, you're not going to be burning things off
with
a blasphemous act or whatever. That's not going to be available to us. The Viashino Heretic, which allows us to remove artifacts.
Hell yeah, dude. I love this
This
guy.
is a big one for Andy. So 2 in a red. It has an activated ability of 1 in a red, tap, destroy target artifact.
He's the anti-mana rock.
It is. And then the Viashino Heretic deals damage to that artifact's controller equal to its casting cost.
God, he's so vulgar.
So he really is. I love you just like...
I'm going to break your shit. I'm going to melt your shit down.
It's really funny. But again, if we're doing these untapped things, it puts us in a position where we can do this multiple times. And even like in my experience, seeing you having played the Viashino Heretic, even just cracking a couple artifacts really shifts the game for
It's
for
funny
people.
to watch people play into him. Like there was a game where Cameron was playing Tassiger, and Tassiger really likes Gilded Lotus, like just stuff that can make it his activated ability like easier to pull off.
Yeah.
And he plays the Gilded Lotus, or plays Gilded Lotus in, and I'm gonna break your shit, and he's just sitting there waiting to do it, and he's like, "You're gonna do it." I'm like, "Come on, man!"
You're like, "What do you want from me?"
Come on!
You just spent out a bunch of mana to get something I can break
right before my turn begins. All right, man, take 5 and sack that Lotus. Should have never put that Lotus in here.
Pray to God you don't drop that shit.
Yeah.
I also put in Yi-San, who has a tap ability.
Dude, good work.
You'll see this, I think, in a lot of Nikya decks. It's already kind of showing up prominently.
People are figuring out that Yi-San is...
Yeah, the Wanderer Bard has a pretty sweet tune to play for a lot of people.
Oh, man.
That's for sure. It
truly is the Michael Bublé of Magic the Gathering.
The Michael Bubble.
Tiff, that drives Tiff crazy. I'll say, "Oh, it's Michael Bubble." She's like, "It's Bublé." And she's been doing it for like 3 years. Every time Christmas comes around, his dumbass is on the freaking PA at the Kohl's and at my work and everywhere you go.
It's like, "Oh, look, it's Michael Bubble."
Oh, do you hear that? It's Michael Bubble. It's Bublé.
That's fucking hilarious. Anyway, Yi-San the Wanderer Bard, 2 and a green for a 2/3 human rogue. He has the activated ability of 2 and a green tap. Put a verse counter on Yi-San. Search your library for a creature with converted mana cost equal to the number of verse counters on Yi-San. So I'm not going to go through it. We have a whole episode where Andy talked about his Yi-San deck. I have a line of protective creatures that are in the deck.
So your verse line is more on the defensive.
Yeah, so there's the protective side, but there's also removal at each of those levels as well.
Yeah, okay.
So, if you need to deal with a problem or if you need to protect yourself from other problems,
here he is.
He's here. He's available. Like there's the stuff's in the deck. Here's where I'm getting really interested in this deck, though, is because the tap on tap stuff is dope. It's value town when you're able to do those things.
Right, but they show up in other decks.
Yeah, they show up in other decks, but
what's unique to
what's
Nikya?
kind of weird to me is that I want the mana sinks, okay? And it's not necessarily unique, but there are some, I think, unique picks that I put in here.
Dude, hook us up.
So let's just go through these mana sinks. So number 1 is going to be the Ant Queen.
Dude, finally the Ant Queen. I've been pushing this card on other people for a long time without committing it to it myself.
Well, I'm making it happen, dude.
Finally, dude.
Making it happen.
She finds a home.
So 3 and 2 green. has an activated ability of 1 and a green, put a 1/1 green insect creature token on the battlefield. The Ant Queen itself is a 5/5. So 1 land gives you an insect with your commander out. And if we've got, like, again, if we're going back to
dream scenario.
Yeah, if we've got like the Patron of Arachi or the Seedborn Muse, or God forbid both.
God forbid both.
God forbid both.
And can we throw like a land untapper into this combination on top of that too?
Right.
Prepare your ass for ants.
There will be ants everywhere. Andy will hate it.
Fuck,
he will be putting ant traps everywhere.
Yeah, every spring it's Andy versus the ants. It's Andy versus Jerry Seinfeld.
Wasn't that B?
Shit, yeah, I think it's Sylvester Stallone or somebody that was an ants. Yeah, you're right, he was a bee. It's forgettable. All right.
Okay, Captivating Crew. 3 in a red for a human pirate. It's a 4/3, but its activated ability is 3 in a red as well. Gain control of target creature opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste. Activate this ability only time you could cast a sorcery. With the amount of mana output we're going to have in this deck. You can
activate it twice.
Yeah, you're going to activate this 2, 3, dare I say maybe 4 times.
Yeah, yoink yoink.
In a turn. It's definitely doable. So let's just go to town taking everybody's stuff. Like who fucking needs Insurrection?
Yeah.
When you've got copious amounts of mana on the Captivating Crew.
That's perfect. This is getting me going, man. I'm really into this.
So
this list is funny, dude.
Yeah, so the Chameleon Colossus, we've seen this one in some lists.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
So
too.
2 and 2 green for it's a shapeshifter. It has changeling. It's a 4/4. It's protection from black, but it also has an activated ability. If you can pay 2 and 2 green, Chameleon Colossus gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. That's exponential, my friends. It will just keep activating it as much mana as you have, and you have a massive Colossus. And if you have a place to go,
God,
where there's only black in front of you, it's getting in.
Yeah, they're out.
Or, and I will note that there's a decent amount of things in the deck that give our creatures trample. Let's go with that Colossus and just trample over.
I'm pretty into this.
Yeah, this one is probably my favorite. It's
over the Ant Queen?
Oh, listen.
Over the Captivating Crew?
Dude, with the Ant Queen?
What is it?
This thing would be fucking dope.
What is it?
It's the Gigantomancer.
What does that do?
It's 7 and a green for a 1/1. It's a human shaman.
What the fuck?
But it has an activated ability of just 1 colorless. Target creature you control becomes 7/7 until end of turn.
So it becomes 7/7.
Yes.
So you can kind of set it to 7 for 1 mana, then do the double up to whatever. So you're Or you can just go tap a land, make 2 creatures 7/7s. Because if you can make her a 7/7 and put her on the clock.
She's on the clock, exactly.
The Gigantomancer.
There's situations where you have a decent number of creatures out and you can make them all 7/7s. It's a shaman.
It's a shaman.
It's a human shaman.
Okay.
It's got this like massive praying mantis next to it, like hanging down from a hedron.
Dude, truly, this is a green card for the 21st century. Right here.
It's like my favorite one in this deck. I'm like, it's just 1 colorless, like, so it doesn't matter what the mana is that you have available. Just sink it in.
And turn an individual ant that you've created.
Yeah, and if you, like I said, like if you've got something like
it's just so inefficient.
It's inefficient, but in a deck like this where you can just
you can't have overwhelming stamp.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do a Crater Hoof Bahoom Boom, but
I mean,
this is the correct way to do that. It's
just fucking funny. So if you've got like an archetype of aggression in play, so all your creatures have trample.
Yeah.
With that thing. Okay.
Oh my God, dude.
Who fucking needs the Crater Hoof at that point?
Who needs it, dude?
Who needs this
Gigantomancer, you heard it first, is the Crater Hoof Behemoth of 2019. As long as you're running this deck, of course.
Okay, some of these are like, they're probably not like, I'm just kind of a sucker for some of these cards, I think, is part of what's happening.
Okay.
So this one I left in the deck. Like I said, I kind of got away from the fire breathing. I do think there's an option where you can put a lot of fire breathing type stuff into the deck to where you're just bumping all your creatures up. That would make the deck more red heavy. You would need more red sources in the deck to make it
I can get behind that.
Work. So I think that's a functional route if you're doing this kind of activated ability tribal, just focusing on fire breathing. But one that I kept in the deck because it's just It's weird. Is Humura Human Ascendant.
Okay.
So it's 6 and 2 red. Humura Human Ascendant can't block. When it is put into a graveyard from play, return it to play flipped. And then it comes in as an enchantment that says creatures I control get +2/+2 and have flying, and they have fire breathing.
So it's one of those very well designed flip cards from Kamigawa.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Holy crap.
It's weird, but there's a hoop to jump through to make that happen.
Okay, he's got to die and he can't block.
And he can't block. So, if you can make it work somehow, some way, that's a pretty dope enchant. It probably needs to go, but I'm a sucker for it, dude.
Okay, but then it has an activated ability once it's flipped, and it's giving them +2/+2.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
gives-
giving them flying.
Yeah, it gives everybody fire breathing.
So the payoff's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it comes out pretty nicely. Kamal, First of Krosa. So it's 4 and 2 green for a 4/3 human druid. It has 2 activated abilities. I can't see myself using the first one in a lot of instances because it's just scary to me. So it's pay green. Target land becomes a 1/1 creature until end of turn. It's still a land. That type of shit scares me.
Well, you can do it in response to somebody's board wipe if you're that guy.
Yeah, you could.
Just saying.
That you could.
Okay.
That shit scares me though. Like
or at least threaten to do that.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I get it. But man, you can't really afford board wipes with this one.
No. No.
Think about the Ant Queen, man. Will you do it for the Ant Queen? I will bring your land out.
That's a good point. I'll make your lands
for the Ant Queen.
It's true. It's true. But the activated ability I'm interested in here is 2 and 3 green. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. So getting it to all of them, dope. Let's see. Kumano Master Yamabushi. 3 and 2 red.
Another Kamigawan.
Yeah, another Kamigawa one. It has an activated ability of 1 and a red, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. I put this in here because we may need ways to just a little more on the spot removal than is necessarily available to us.
Yeah.
Like creature removal is actually
hard.
Yeah. With this. So yeah, we have some of the fight stuff that we can do, but the nice thing with this is if a creature dealt damage by Kumano this turn would be put into a graveyard, remove it from the game instead.
He shows up in pinger lists.
It's probably a good idea.
He shows up in pingers lists.
Probably a good idea. And the nice thing with that is you get around the whole need for haste, right? It's just mana that's
pretty good.
Needed. I put in Perforos because you can use that paid activated ability to fire breathe for everybody.
Weird.
It may draw some.
Yeah, that's the draw for him right there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're playing only creatures. It's not going to be as awesome as just like playing a goblin deck around Perforos, but I mean, you're going to get a lot of creature ETBs with that guy too. So, the Walking Ballista is just another great mana sink. It's
because you loop them through, right?
It's pretty unexciting. But to read the Walking Ballista off, it's XX.
So it's just cost. X for your lands with her.
Yeah, so just singular X, exactly. Walking Ballista enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. It, of course, has the remove of +1/+1 counter, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. But you can pay 4 to add an additional +1 onto it.
So there it is.
And so I probably wouldn't want to play this unless I had something that makes me really efficient, like the Seedborn Muse in play. So I can get the biggest bang for my buck out of this.
You're just chipping every turn.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, Craterhoof Behemoth is in here. Pathbreaker Ibex. Those are the types of things that are just they'll win the game for you.
You got to do it.
So put them in. Let me wrap up my deck with just a couple cards that I'm calling these the just fuck with them kind of cards, and I'll turn it over to you.
Fuck with them.
Because we're trying not to swear this episode, right?
Yeah.
So Dose in the Falling Leaf, players can't play spells, or players can only play spells during their own turns. We're playing in creatures, so you guys got to all play the same spade as me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like that's what I want with this deck. I mentioned the Heartwood Storyteller. I think that's a really, really cool card draw for this deck. It does give other people card draw, but you should be the greatest beneficiary of that if you're into doing that kind of shit. If you really want to get mean, the Nullstone Gargoyle.
What does that do again?
So this is 9 mana for an artifact creature gargoyle. It's a 4/5, has flying gargoyle.
Okay.
But it says whenever the first non-creature spell each turn is played counter that spell.
Huh.
So I'm only playing creatures. You guys probably have some non-creature stuff in your deck.
Yeah.
You better decide what you want to do.
That's sick. So you already know your choice.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
I made my choice before I even sat down to the table with this one for sure. Dude, I'm admiring this deck, man.
So,
wow.
I of course put Rurik Thar in the deck. I also put the Vexing Shusher in here.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that I get, if there's stuff I really need to make sure it lands, the Vexing Shusher makes it work out.
Yeah, he basically makes a spell uncounterable.
Yeah, and Rurik Thar is just, I'm not going to get hit by it.
Yeah, like why?
So you guys can take some damage. And then also this is just a little card draw one, another card draw one that I think could be kind of fun.
It's probably important.
The Runic Armasaur.
What was that?
So it's 1 and 2 green for a dinosaur. It's a 2/5, and it says whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. It's too bad it's not when you activate abilities. That would be fucking dope.
You did that because on my pinger deck, didn't you? You're like, I'm gonna get so much card from him.
I may have. Anyway, that's it, dude.
Dude, that is dope.
Nikya was kind of a little weird. Like I was like, man, this is gonna be really. I don't know if it's gonna be that exciting. But when I got into it, I got really into putting this list together.
More than you expected.
Way more than I expected.
Huh.
I learned a lot, and then I think I found a route that I enjoy.
You learned that there's a lot of damn value on a creature.
Yeah.
A lot of damn value on a creature.
Which I think that principle gets talked about in commander deck building.
Mm-hmm.
That if there's something you can accomplish
on a permanent,
with a permanent, like, and like the value of a creature, like, like a reclamation sage, for example, like if you play a reclamation sage as opposed to an instant or sorcery, like naturalize, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got a body that you can block with. We talk about that a lot.
Attack.
Or attack with, yeah.
Over a couple turns, it might be like after 3 turns of hits, it could be 6 damage.
Yeah, like so you have a higher ceiling of potential output from those cards. We all know that, I think, intuitively, but this deck kind of forced me into like really engaging with that principle, which is kind of cool.
This deck's a good boy or girl. It's a chick.
This is a chick, but
yeah. But I want to say, like, I see this thing as being pretty fun for your opponents.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to be like, there's really not a single non-creature spell in the deck. And if I was playing it, I just would never answer that question. Because people are going to be like, where's the Temur Sabertooth? You can jump her back and tap from, it's like, and then there's people like, there better not be a single non-creature spell in that deck, because they want you to be pure, Sick, dude.
All right, well, what do you got for me, dude?
If there was a Gruul opposite to your what you just did,
the antithesis.
Guess how many creatures are in my deck?
6.
Well, actually 8. So
wow.
Hang on, let me delete 2 really quick. There's 8 creatures in my deck. It's Wort the Raidmother. So
fuck yeah, dude.
4 a hybrid red or green, and then another hybrid red or green legendary creature, Goblin Shaman. When Wort the Raidmother enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red and green Goblin Warrior creature tokens. She's a 3/3. But her last line of text is what makes her interesting. It says each red or green instant or sorcery spell, so or spell you cast has Conspire. So what that means is, as you cast the spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy.
Interesting.
So
and she does produce red-green warrior goblins. So
yeah, so she actually brings red-green in. So she gives you the people,
the resources needed,
the conspirators that you need. So it's no secret that I gravitate towards spell slingery type plays. So here I am.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, and I tried not to do this one, but I thought, well, I don't know. I think this would be kind of a good parallel.
I like it.
to what you've done.
Where I'm just like, there is literally nothing non-creature.
Yeah. So let me kind of just talk about twinning spells really quick, just from my experience. It is the dream scenario for a lot of spellslinger moments and spellslinger decks. However, a lot of the time, there's kind of a big gulf between it happening once for little mana or it happening often for a good amount of mana or it happening all the time for a ton of mana.
Sure.
So I want to say, like, we've got Reverberate over here, which is an instant that just says pay 2 red, twin a spell.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, I want to say, I don't know, Swarm Intelligence. That just says every instant or sorcery you cast is now twinned.
Okay.
One is 2 mana, one is 7 mana.
Yeah.
So there's just this huge gulf between these two. It's generally a red ability. There is a few blue, obviously, options to do that,
Sure.
like Twin Cast and
then,
the enchantment.
Yeah, and then
But red actually kind of has a little bit more. It
emblem.
has Fork, which is the OG. And I say twinning spells. A lot of people call it forking spells, but
This sounds suggestive.
I don't like. Yeah, I know. It sounds like you're saying the F word, and it's just weird, right? I mean,
we're above that.
Yeah,
Andy.
this is a family show. So, in my from my experience of playing Spellslinger, like it's great when you do it if the setup was there, but a lot of the time, like the barriers are just not worth it.
Yeah, like what turn did you skip over just so you could do this on your next turn?
Yeah, and then the other thing is that in some decks, like you have to just set so much up for it. So like a lot of Melik's cards are just trying to plan for the next card to be an instant so he can twin it off the top of his library. You've got things like, I mean, they're generally good cards, but there is some stuff that's just like, man, this is really kind of getting in my way. Mizzix really just doesn't care about twinning spells for me.
You're like, I just want to be efficient.
Because the turn you spent resolving your Swarm Intelligence, it's 7 mana. Like that was a whole turn that you passed over, like maybe multiple capsizes.
Yeah.
Or a very large X spell that probably just shoved people out of the game or whatever.
Yeah.
So to kind of just give my whole piece about twinning spells, if you look closely at Wort, her barrier is actually pretty low between you and getting a twin.
Yeah, you just need
Once she's resolved, she brings bodies with her. She gives you the conspirators to make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's no mana barrier for when you're ready to do the twin. All you got to do is just have the creatures online.
Which is pretty crazy.
Right, which is vulnerable. People who kind of get wise to what this is about will try to pick off the creatures. So yeah, that's my piece about twinning spells. Cool?
Cool. I'm into it.
So yeah, let me go through how this thing's going to work out. This deck is extremely ramp heavy, probably more so than a lot of other decks.
Okay.
I have 7 basic tutors in the deck, so I'm not going to list them off, but they tutor for basics. They're all sorceries. There's one instant that I can talk about because it's pretty neat if you do twin it. There's 3 advanced tutors, meaning they tutor for things that are not basic lands. So they look for, it just says land.
Okay.
So one that sticks out would be like scrying, not scrying, like Sylvan scrying, right? It's a powered up version of Rampant Growth that just says search your library for a land and put it into your hand. You don't put it in play, but you can go grab a land.
Yeah.
And then I have 3, what I call them, big land or 2 big land tutors. So this would be like something that just goes and finds all the basics, like Boundless Realms.
Oh.
So the idea here is that we get her into play quickly the more of these we have.
Yeah.
And they keep paying us bigger dividends once she's out because we can twin them.
Right.
Duh.
Right.
So let me kind of walk you through a scenario that would be unique to Wort. Normally, Harrow is not a card that people are all that into. It's 2 and a green. It's actually instant speed, which is sick.
Yeah.
But it's 2 and a green. It says an additional cost to cast Harrow, sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So the whole idea is that you're only up 1 land because you sacked the land, you went and grabbed 2.
You went and grabbed 2.
Yeah, so the payoff here is, well, they're up and ready to go, where normally these spells, they come in tapped.
Yeah. But there's places that can be abused, like the Gitrog monster and things like that.
Yeah, so just there are decks that like Harrow, but you don't see Harrow in just every other green deck because it doesn't
I actually like it quite a bit, but whatever.
Even without the Gitrog monster?
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite as good as other things are. But
I just think there's just so many now at the 3 spot that...
Yeah, like you don't need it.
Yeah, and then even if you're going to go above that, like getting lands at instant speed, it's an interaction that I don't think anyone's looking
Most people don't need it.
Yeah, people aren't really looking to disrupt. Also, yeah, I don't know. Like there's stuff that at that mana range it'll get you
Oh yeah.
more than basics.
Oh yeah.
But let me contextualize this with with the commander here, right? Because the sacrifice part of the cost is in its is part of its cost, the whole like as an additional cost to cast the spell, sack the land. It's already been shoved onto the stack for her to twin.
Yeah, so
you
that's
don't have
been
to
paid.
drop 2. So now in this scenario, you're sacking 1 to get 4, and they're ready to go.
That's dope.
So you're mana positive from this. You paid 3, you wake up with 4.
Yeah, that's fucking rad.
That's just a really kind of a good example of why there is 7 basic tutors, 3 advanced tutors, and 3 big tutors. There's also Oracle of Moldiah because the land density in this deck is pretty high, and I want to kind of keep our draws clean as we can. Like, just
we're
get
getting
them out
rid
of the
those, getting them out of the way. Yeah.
So Oracle of Moldiah needs a reprint. I
hope it happens this year.
I avoid using it in decks. Like if you look at all of my green decks, like it's just too fucking expensive. But if you already got one, pitch it in here. If you don't, maybe I don't know what a good alternative to her is, because a lot of them don't clear that draw. I think maybe Burgeoning, but they have to be in your hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of almost every one of my tutors go into play.
Sure.
You know, I don't really do except for that one that I'd mentioned earlier. But Oracle Moldiah is 3 and a green. It says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Play the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. So this thing kind of backfires in a couple ways. Is that if you reveal a card that you've won with, or your playgroup is practiced around this commander, they're going to see it. So if they see something that's just obviously a card they don't want to see twinned out, it'll show up with her.
It doesn't ramp you, but you could get the same playing off the top effect with the Courser of Crufix.
Yeah. I think the only alternative that I'd be really okay with in place of Oracle of Moldiah is Rites of Flourishing.
Oh.
Because it lets you draw an extra card, lets you play a double land. It lets your opponents do the same, but I would challenge any other deck with how fast this is going to go off.
Yeah.
With that much land and extra card draw coming into your game state.
Sure.
But I don't know. So in the meantime, it's Oracle of Moldiah. Yeah. So the whole objective of the deck is to seek mana advantage over the table and win with just a blowout play.
Okay.
So let's go to the next thing that we probably should talk about is the tokens. So losing tokens, if you look at her language, you really only are ever allowed to tap 2 per spell.
Yeah. So you actually do need bodies.
Yeah.
You're
So
only
if you're down
get
1 token, she can be included in this. But red tokens are only tethered to red spells, and green tokens are only tethered to green spells.
Sure.
So if you have multiple spells in the same turn, you're going to need multiple conspirators if you want to twin them off.
Yeah.
So I'm not really leaning very heavily on token generation, but let me kind of walk you through some that I think are probably, they're just good because of what they do and because of their potential outcome. So the first one is the Young Pyromancer. It's 1 in a red for a creature human shaman. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. It's a 2/1. So as you're shooting the ramp spells, you're kind of getting red creatures moving forward.
You're setting yourself up for later when you're going to be casting
twinning
multiple
red spells. Not that she's not helping that, but if you do multiple in a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's a reason for this. I'll talk about that later, like why you need more red tokens than green. The Avenger of Zendikar, I mean, duh. Since we're getting so many lands into play from these sorceries, it's going to blow out pretty hard.
Oh,
I mean, I wouldn't even say this is necessarily something that you have in the deck to get conspirators with. It's more just to have the fucking Avenger of Zendikar dream with a lot of lands and then more land plays to follow.
Yeah.
So classic commander card, 5 a green and a green for a creature elemental. It's a 5/5, but it says whenever Avenger of Zendikar enters when Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, put a 0/1 plant, a green plant creature token into the battlefield for each land you control. And then it has that landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. So imagine, I don't know, landing a Boundless Realms with this guy out.
That would be disgusting.
Yeah, so Boundless Realms, like just to kind of throw it out there, it's 6 in the green. It says search your library for X basic land cards where X is the number of lands you control and put them into the battlefield tapped. So you pull a good chunk of your basics out and dump them into play, if not all of them, depending on how far in we are.
Yeah, and in that context, like let's just say you cast the Avenger of Zendikar at 7, so you've got 7 of these plants, right?
Yes.
and then the next turn you'd get your land drop.
Yeah,
You're
let's
at
say
8.
we're at 7, so yeah, we'll get your 8 if you have a land drop.
And then you cast Boundless Realms. Now you've got 8 +1/+1 counters going on all of these 7 plants, right?
Plus 8 more
Plus all
lands.
this land.
Yeah, so it's pretty low to the ground combo, but that kind of puts it out there why he's in the deck. Cranko Mob Boss.
Plus, let's twin that shit, dude.
Yeah, Boundless Realm. Like if we have enough, and if you want to lean I would actually. This is one of these decks where I would encourage you to like reduce the utility land count, and just go for either.
Yeah, in
clean
that case,
mana.
if you can twin that, you've just pulled out most of your basic lands.
Almost all. Yeah, it'd have to be all of them at this point, depending on how advanced your mana base is.
Yeah.
Because yes, the Boundless Realms only wants basics.
Yeah.
Cranko Mob Boss. So since she herself and her 2 conspirators are goblins,
Cranko's ready to ride.
he kind of I mean the floor is pretty high.
Yeah.
The starting point for Cranko's mob is pretty good, right? So for people that don't know who the best goddamn goblin in all of the all of Magicverse is, it's 2 a red and a red for a legendary creature goblin warrior. You can tap him and create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. If there ever is a deck that just fucking spirals out, or a card that ever spirals out of control, it's this guy. So yeah, these are kind of just like the ones that are housed in permanence.
Okay.
Like they're coming from permanence. There are, of course, instant and sorceries that create tokens. So a little bit of a force multiplier with her ability. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't do it if it's the only thing you're going to cast. There's no mana barrier. You just tap the 2 creatures to get twice as many than you would have. So if you're in need for blockers, you get more this way by actually tapping them. So the ones that are pretty low to the ground are Dragon Fodder and Cranko's Command. So it's 1 in a red to create 2 goblin creature tokens. There's the Mog War Marshal that does something similar, but he's not a instant or sorcery. So, I mean, he's not a sorcery, so he can't be twinned. But
sure.
if you really like that effect, if you're like, I like that number,
I need more of it.
You could add that. But then I would just say, let's just go to the Hordling Outburst at that point.
Yeah.
It's 1 a red and a red, and it says create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So with a twin, you would get 6. So you tap 2 to get 6 of these. Molten Birth probably shouldn't be in this deck, but I couldn't fucking help myself with it.
So tell me about this.
So
one.
it's 1 and a red. It says put 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens into the battlefield. Then flip a coin. If you win the flip, return Molten Birth to its owner's hand. So if
just that possibility of buying it back somehow.
But think about how bad this could get, right? So let's say I tap the 2 creatures.
Twin. Or
Twins
twin
off,
it.
right? One if the copy is a success, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a copy.
Sure.
You know. But if the original has a success, I now have 4 creatures to keep doing this. So as long as I keep succeeding, I can just
if you get on a lucky streak.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those like
take this one to Vegas kind of a thing.
If there's a cut in the entire deck, this is the first one because it's just
that's really funny.
I mean, it's not that bad. You get you get 2 for 3, and there's a potential for more. But you can see like the gambler in me going, you're saying there's a chance to just start chaining these things out a little bit. Saproling Migration and Saproling Symbiosis. So I'm just saying these right now because they're next to each other on the list, but they function different. So Saproling Migration is just 1 in a green. It says create 2 green Saproling creature tokens. If the spell would be kicked, you create 4 instead. The kicker cost is 4. I don't know. Like
sure.
Making green creature tokens is great because it helps you twin. The only reason I'm doing this is because it's only 2 CMC. The way to think about that is, well, if I have like multiple ramp spells in my hand that I want to resolve in the same turn, because now you're jumping up to really final stages of the game.
Oh yeah,
very quickly. If you manage to twin like a Cultivate or a Harrow, like you're jumping up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
you know. But this is just one of them. And then there's Saproling Symbiosis. It's 3 in a green. It says you may play Saproling Symbiosis anytime you could play an instant if you pay 2 more to play it. So it's kind of like a little bit of that route. Remember route?
Oh,
it's a little bit of that. Like it kind of gives you flash if you want to pay
like
2 more.
if you need to pay a
but
little
this one
extra.
just says put a 1/1 green Saproling creature token into play for each creature you control.
Ooh.
So it just kind of
that could be it's like a Reese type ability on a spell.
Yeah, so let's play the Dreamcast for a second, right? Let's put in that Sonic Adventure and play it for a minute, but let's do the Zendikar Resurgence scenario with this on the back end.
Yeah.
And twinned. So I don't know. It's an $11 card though, for some fucking reason.
Sure, but think about that resolving because it doubles, and then the next one checks as it's resolving out of the stack and doubles again, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking dope.
Last green one that I think is just good because of its functionality is the Arachnogenesis. It's a
Okay.
$9 card. It's 2 and a green. It says put X1/2 green spider creature tokens into play with reach, into the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by non-spider creatures. So it's a fog effect that if somebody's going really wide on you,
Tiff's ruined my life with that card, I think.
yeah, it's pretty fucking annoying. While we're talking about it, I did actually add constant mists in here because of how much land you should be getting. And,
Oh yeah, so
and
you
if
can
you
keep
need to
sacking
use
them
it,
off and grab it
yeah,
back.
if you need to use it, the thing about constant miss is that it doesn't get rid of the state of needing to use it. It just fogs those creatures. They're still available to attack you next
Yeah,
turn. It almost
yeah.
like demands that you pay the buyback. Sorry, to say what it is, it's 1 and a green. It says for an instant, creatures deal no combat damage this turn.
Yeah.
But then you can sack a land to bring it back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those cards that it's like you almost have to buy it back.
Yeah,
if you
because
felt-
it's coming
if
back
you-
around next turn.
Yeah, unless you have a way to finish and you really need that last land, then yeah, it's one of those deck cards that just encourages that it be cast multiple times. Token support. We've got parallel lives in here.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
I want to say it's probably. Oh wait, sorry. One more token generator before I go into that. Xenagos the Reveler actually. So he has the unique space of giving you red-green satyrs.
Oh, so you get both sides
So you
for
get
your
best of both
conspirators.
worlds. Plus, he gives you mana, which is why I valued him a little bit. And you're gonna have a lot of blockers. I don't know. I
What's
don't.
funny is he's not showing up on the EDH rec.
So
list,
it's 2 a red and a green. It says you can his up one for a legendary creature Xenagos not god version, not creature at all. Planeswalker comes in with 3 loyalty. You can bring him up by 1. It says add to your mana pool any combination of a red and or a green, where X is the number of creatures you control. So with him just in play and Wort.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like a 3 mana. He'll just give you 3 mana.
sure.
But then his middle ability is just says put a red-green satyr creature token with haste into the battlefield. And then I guess his all is exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may put any number of creatures and or land cards from among them onto the battlefield. So he kind of like dumps your. I don't really see you going for the
you're
ultimate
like
ever.
you're more interested in the other.
Yeah, you're only
parts of
going to
it.
hit lands. And yeah, you might have exiled like some spell you really didn't want to twin. So he's somebody that's kind of.
That's interesting.
He doesn't need to be there, but he
those
does give you a
those
value
red
token.
green tokens
And with all these other tokening effects, like he does kind of get progressively more and more of a help to mana.
Yeah.
You know, which
Yeah.
with how this deck has to finish the game, I mean, you're gonna need the mana. Like if
take what
if I
you can
haven't
get.
if I haven't made it like painfully obvious, like you're gonna need mana to make this go through. Let's talk removal. So this is kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, let's tear down the pretense of all these other fucking decks. Why can't we? So one actually creates tokens. It's called the Artifact Mutation. So if you go to EDH Rec, you'll see this very near and dear to the top cards for her. It's a red and a green. It says destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Create X/1/1 green sapperling creature tokens where X is that artifact's converted mana cost. It's instant. It's an instant. I'm okay with that. Right?
Oh, okay.
So you get some tokens, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 5, to just wipe out a creature at instant speed for 2 mana. Beast Within and Chaos Warp. These are just, they're red. And
Yeah,
green.
them
They're
getting
red and
doubled
green.
is
They're red
all
and
the
green
juicier.
staples. Chaos Warp could probably be replaced with something that's more final and not random, but I put it in here because there's a certain pair of planeswalkers that would be bugging me that I would want them warped out. You know, where I don't have a lot of reach into that. Well, I do have the tokens, but anyway, it's in there. Damn it, it's a red spell. There's a new one that
Andy's like 2019 theme. Fuck Will and Rowan Kenrith.
It is my 2019 theme, and I'm sticking to it. Electro Dominance.
Ooh.
So I wanted
new
a place to
card.
put it in. It's an Izet card. It's an Izet card. God damn it! Look at the art.
Yeah, I mean it's very Izet.
I just think about. I'm putting this in the removal category because I imagine you know how we are. Like we try to imagine low to the ground scenarios.
Sure.
We've been a little bit of a Christmas land magic this episode, but it's X and a red.
It's the Christmas colors, dude. Give me a fucking present here.
Yeah, it's X, and I did, and that was the chaos warp for your will and roll. It could be something better than will.
Yeah, that was cold, dude. That was cold.
X, a red and a red instant. It says Electro Dominance deals X damage to any target. Oh, fucking will again. Heard you like red, do you, pal?
Shit.
You and your incestuous relationship with your sister, motherfucker. All right, sorry. Prejudice.
You and I are passionate about those commanders on the other side.
Electro Dominance deals X damage to any target. You may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, twinning X effects with this commander is just the value is real, folks.
Gimme.
The value is real. So you can resolve a permanent.
Gimme.
You can dump a ramp spell. You could dump. There's so many stupid things you could do, and then when you do it twice, you're emptying your hand of 2 cards for free, at the cost of whatever you put in here. Like it's just
that's like my favorite card from this new set.
Yeah,
right?
you don't even need to like use it as a
dope.
blowout to shove somebody out. Like the value gain from this is
super high.
Is great. Yeah, so this is just the removal category, Electro Dominance, but it could be a way to shove someone out of the game.
Yeah.
Croson Grip, Decimate, and Hull Breach.
Mm-hmm.
Decimate could be pretty hard to manage because it has a lot of targets. So make sure you're able to resolve it all the way. Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt them more often than hurt you, but it could. So it's 2, a red and a green. It says destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. So 4 mana, it's destroy 2 artifacts, 2 creatures, 2 enchantments, and 2 lands.
That's a lot of reach.
Yeah, Hull Breach
when you get to target those things, like...
Yeah, Hull Breach is probably the more elegant version of this. It's not as heavy-handed. It's a red and a green. It says choose 1, destroy target artifact and or enchantment, or just do it again for both. So, yeah, a little bit less heavy-handed. But, fuck it, dude. We're tearing walls down with this deck. I'm going to put this last one in the removal section, even though it's kind of like a finish. I envision it to be just all-around useful. It's Goblin Bombardment. It's 1 in a green or 1 in a red. It says sacrifice a creature. I was looking at their skin when I nearly said green. God, they're such a beautiful race. 1 in a red.
Yeah, look at it. It is green. I mean, it's red, but it looks green.
But it looks green. It's 1 in a red. It says sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So, am I expecting you to get a fuck ton of tokens? Probably not with this deck. But there are scenarios where after they're twinned, you might not have. Like the way I envision this, and I could be wrong because again, like I'm just trying to think about how to make this work with the tokens, is that rather than having mana to finish off some of these twin spells that are going to be thrown at people to finish the damage, I can just easily translate it into 1 damage a creature, plus the commander herself. People are going to be looking to clear these conspirators out of the way because they know they're your vehicle to getting the value out of your commander.
Yeah.
So you know how I am. I'm all about kind of squeezing value out of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is I think illustrates very well a principle of just trying to squeeze every bit of
I'm going to lose them anyway. Let's just pop them off.
You're going to get punished
and the mana barrier is pretty low.
Yeah.
It's 1 in a red. And again, like if you're in a very thiefy meta, like
fuck you. You're
the
not
blue
taking
deck
my
really
shit.
So just I don't know. But then they can't really twin their own shit because she specifically wants red or green on her labeling.
Sure.
Card draw. I actually did put the tireless tracker in here too. Weirdly.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, if you're going to be running parallel lives and you can get those tokens twinned, right?
Yeah, and just those land drops. Like I figured like she's out early enough to start paying me later if I kind of like reach a weird plateau in the game.
Yeah.
I can just be like, well, let me drop some of these clue tokens,
Yeah.
I'll say one thing that I've noticed about this deck is that, just kind of doing the play testing a little bit. It's very on your turn. It's not one of those
like
wait
even though
and
you're
see.
playing instants and sorceries.
And I kind of wanted to encourage that. Like it was just like, I if you play this deck, I want you to be just reckless with every single card in here. There is no optimal time. There is no the minute you have 3 mana for that electro potence and a soul ring, fucking do it.
Sure.
Or not electro potence, electro dominance.
dominance.
Just fucking do it. Twin it and I don't know. Maybe not that reckless, but you get what I mean.
But yeah.
Like just keep shooting the spells. Like just keep going. But yeah, tireless tracker's in there. And then the other thing that was like, you remember the harrow?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that same concept, but for card draw. So Cathartic Reunion, it's 1 in a red. It says, as an additional cost to cast Cathartic Reunion, discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards.
Ooh.
So discard 2, draw 6, if it's twinned.
Yeah.
So a lot of the draw effects in this deck are fitted around that. So we've got Cathartic Reunion. The scale down of that would be like Tormenting Voice and Wild Guess. They require an upfront investment of you ditching a card, but then when they're twinned
you're gonna
off,
get it back.
Yeah. Shamanic Revelation is in here as well because
love that
we
card.
will have enough to. I mean, even just at the very low end, it lets you grab some cards. Harmonize. I really hated that card when I first encountered it. I thought it was just like, cool, it's a blue card, but yeah, it's great. I put it in here as
especially in this context,
you
right?
just kind of need
like
it.
I'm gonna draw 6 cards for 4 mana.
It's right. I don't know if I would really consider this card draw. It's just more like card access. It's called the Apex of Power. So it's 7, a red, and a red. So remember, we have been ramping. So don't freak out that we're trying to do this. It says exile the top 7 cards of your library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards this way. If the spell was cast from your hand, add 10 mana of any one color. So obviously twinning it, you're not going to get 20 mana because it didn't.
If you cast the spell
you
from your
don't
hand.
cast copies. So that's always something that you have to kind of keep in mind with dealing with twinning spells. Like you don't cast copies.
Plus, it provisions that it's from your hand. Right?
Yeah, but this would give you access to 14 cards.
Yeah,
because that first part just says exile the top 14 cards and until end of
so you
the
have
turn.
a greater selection with which to spend your mana.
Yeah, I kind of wanted just a big splashy play that didn't.
That's pretty dope.
Your typical, but I could see where this thing.
It could whiff.
Could whiff.
But hey, fuck it.
But how much could it really whiff with 10 extra mana in your?
Yeah, I mean,
mana
you're gonna
pool?
get something out of that.
Yeah, if you twin it, and then whatever you see, if you have more tokens, you can follow up with another twin. I mean, you have 10 mana. Like I can see where this thing could just. I mean, dude, can you imagine running into, the Molten Birth and then starting flipping? Just kidding. What a waste of a freaking.
Oh my
You're
god!
Like, out of all the spells, I gotta do it.
Well, it's there. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's not card draw. Like, who are we kidding? It's just I have it up here, but to give you an idea, like that's the kind of card draw we're looking for.
Sure.
I think if you were gonna try to push it forward. A Sylvan Library. I don't even own a Sylvan Library, but that would be pretty good.
I bought one a while back, and it's just so.
Yeah, yeah. Sylvan Library would be pretty hot. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going with this. Let's talk a couple more categories left before I get to the how we're gonna win section. Not that
I thought you were just gonna get an attaboy for like being awesome.
That was. So
you know what, dude?
I call this section twins porn. Everyone's tried it. It's never all that great. You'd think it would be awesome, but it's just I don't know.
Sorry again to Andy's grandma.
Yeah, sorry, grandma. Yeah, twin on twin porn. So if we can twin on twin, things are gonna get pretty wild. And the only reason I'm even considering this is because the mana barrier for the initial is 0. There's no reason not to.
Oh, sure.
To do it.
Sure.
So let's start with just the dual caster mage, right? It's 1, a red and a red. It says flash. When dual caster mage enters the battlefield, you can copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So there's some infinite combos that go with this. I didn't include them in the deck.
Sure.
But yeah, there's just think about doing copies of itself on a sorcery, and you'll kind of figure it out. But the big thing with this one is that it's a creature, and it also twins stuff you don't control. So in a pinch, or if somebody just shoots something that you just gotta have it.
Like, thanks for that overloaded cyclonic groove.
Yeah, you can flash it in. Increasing Vengeance is probably on the opposite spectrum of this. It only twins your spells, but it has a pretty high potential to pay you. So it's a red and a red. It says copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. But then it has a flashback of 3, a red and a red. If Increasing Vengeance was cast from your graveyard, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for these copies. So, yeah.
You couldn't resist this, could you?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm twinning. Getting back to the good old days.
Yeah, so imagine having enough mana to do that apex of power and then flash this thing back.
Yeah.
You know, or just, and then you twin this. So it was cast from your graveyard.
You get to exile half your library now.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, again, the copy wasn't cast, but
sure,
you get it. It's pretty pornographic. Like I said, twin on twin porn. Howl of the Horde is also another one that kind of pushes it further.
Okay.
With multiplicatives of twins shooting a porno scene. You have to attack to kind of get the bigger side of it, but
that guy's got lightning coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, he's yelling lightning. So it's 2 in a red. It says when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It also has something called raid. If you attacked with a creature, they don't need to kill combat damage. They just need to attack. So just use a combat phase, use one of your tokens, and when you cast the next instant or sorcery spell, copy it an additional time. You may choose new targets for that copy. So it'll go off twice. So it's 3 twins for 3.
It's kind of funny because it's sort of
Triplets,
like telecast, right?
say.
You're like,
yeah, I'm attacking with 1 token, and everyone's like, okay.
But you have to cast this beforehand, right?
I'll try to adjust.
Or I guess after. Huh?
Raid is
after.
kind of a post main thing.
Post-main,
so
yeah.
I'll address that after. Like what else? The last one that's strapped to a permanent is a primal amulet.
Oh.
So people were really evaluating this card pretty high for Spellslinger decks back in the day. I think it does actually do work here, or not back in the day.
I think
that
people
far
are
back. It was last year, but it's 4 mana. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Yeah.
So this is really good, I guess, with ramp. I mean, I tried to find a place for the Emerald Medallion here because it feels really good to like just chain off a lot of these ramp spells.
Oh yeah.
But it's 4 mana, so yeah. But it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Primal Amulet. So you almost kind of do want this in those setup phases. Then if there are 4 or more charge counters on it, you may remove those counters and transform it. So then it turns into Primal Wellspring. It says add 1 mana of any add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. When that spell is, or when the mana is spent to cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy.
I just feel like this hoop is really small to jump through, right?
Well, with how much sorcery ramp you've got,
I get it. I've had a hard time pulling this one off.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it's bad.
There is an alternative, and I didn't put it in the deck because the hoop is, it has a very specific hoop.
But you'll fall through it.
It's the Pyromancer's Goggles.
Yeah.
It's 5 mana. It says tap, add red to your mana pool. So it only ever gives you red. Is that problematic? No, considering that you've been mana fixing the whole way. But it says when mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, when that mana, that 1 red is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's basically Jaya Ballard's Goggles.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you see like?
Yeah, I get you.
You see the exchange rate between these two twinning permanents?
Yeah.
There is a myriad of twinning effects out there. Like I didn't hit them all. I picked the ones that I thought were. I mean, there's reiterate. There's a ton. I just picked ones that were like either leaning really hard in one direction. I have reverberate in here because it's the cheapest. So
it seems like you went with a lot of permanents that you can use multiple times as well.
Yeah, I have 2 ways to to twin other people's effects or steal other people's effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, and then I have 3 ways to do ours, but ours are they're, like we got Increasing Vengeance, which could potentially give you way more than just 1.
Yeah.
And then the Howl of the Horde or whatever, that one can give you 2.
Yeah.
And then, the Primal Amulet, I guess, is just, it helps you along the way, But you're right. It definitely is one of those like, dog show type permanents. They're making you run through
like,
this
holy shit, that dog
stupid relay.
Really fucking put it together.
Yeah, he really did. He's gonna take home the trophy.
It's beautiful perm.
A little bit of recursion. Sorcery based recursion is very potent. Right now,
especially since you're twinning them.
Yeah,
right?
So Seasons Past would basically bring your grip back into play, back into your hand. So I don't. Yeah, it's something to consider. I don't have it on the list, but if you're, because my thought is that the stuff that you'd be pulling back to your hand is just more ramp most of the time. Like this deck is just kind of gonna pop off. Like
Sure.
my thought was like, really, what am I trying to pull back?
Yeah, because in that sense, it's like it's super telecast. If you've done anything that's been threatening to people to this point, and you cast a spell, they're just like,
I mean, I can see where you could say, well, with this is a form of card draw, I guess. You
is.
draw from your
Definitely
graveyard,
is.
you know. I don't know. For some reason, I just hesitate to lean too hard on recursive elements. I would say that was Praetor's Council.
Yeah, I've used that.
It's great, but there's no reason to twin it. It just regrips
because it gets your whole thing.
Yeah, it gets your whole thing. It gives you no max. That was it. But right now, the one I did land on was Wildest Dreams. It's XX green. Return X target cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Wildest Dreams.
Oh,
because it's
so you can be selective.
It's non-discriminate. Whatever's in there, yeah, pick enough and pull them back. I'm just thinking you probably need maybe 2 or 3. You don't need X to be that big, but then you can also twin it. So I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, there's regrowth as well. There's Noxious Revival, but that puts stuff on the top, but it is an instant speed.
Sure.
I don't know. I think if I could make just kind of a change, or I could see maybe a change being needed, rather than doing the heavy removal. I was just in the mood to break shit. But rather than really putting hard in on the removal, maybe turn up the card draw a little further, or start loading elements like this in. So like regrowth, that noxious,
so
and just treat it like, just kind of treat it like this is stuff I already enjoyed casting. I already cast it.
Yeah,
but then again, it doesn't.
I've got a recycling center built into my deck.
A little bit, but it doesn't further new problems for your playgroup. But this deck doesn't really give any problems that hopefully doesn't throw out any problems that your playgroup either can't deal with because it just happened, or they could totally deal with it because it was just a bunch of tokens. Like I think the paywall for this deck isn't very high. And I'll talk about how I've kind of been hinting at it, but I'll talk about how to address that a little bit. So that was the twin porn thing. Let's talk about how to actually win this.
How can you top that, dude?
So winning off of tokens, let's talk about Tooth and Nail for a second.
Whew, I was wondering.
We're really not in this space to, this is not a time for integrity. Let's just do the Tooth and Nail. 5, a green and a green. It says choose one. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or put the up to 2 creature cards from your hand into the battlefield. Or you can entwine it so you pay a lot of mana. So it's 7, 8, 9.
It's definitely worth
to do both effects. So you go tutor 2 creatures and dump them into play. So a classic Tooth and Nail target is the Crater Hoof Behemoth and the Avenger of Zendikar. Crater Hoof Behemoth is not in this deck, but that is an option. And rather, you could do Perforos and Avenger of Zendikar.
Sure.
You could do go grab. So if you twinned it, you have to twin it if this works. So you have the twin, you let 1 resolve, and you go grab the Dual Caster Mage. And when it ETBs, you just twin the original.
Oh, yeah, because the copy would resolve first, right?
Yeah, so because it's done, and she's now she finds herself on the battlefield because it's an ETB effect from her. I think it's a her. They have cool hair. So it ETBs and grabs the original, because you can order this whatever and then go again.
Yeah.
Because its state is entwined. So then go grab Perforos, or then go grab, I don't know, there's not a lot of creatures, but those ones kind of just pop off, like Perforos, Avenger of Zendikar, Perforos, a bunch of ways to make twins. If you really want to push the Tooth and Nail win con further, I would probably say let's take the deck further in the token direction.
Sure.
And then kind of do the Avenger of Zendikar, Crater Hoof Behemoth. But it just seemed kind of,
It's very straightforward, very, like, do you feel good about yourself now?
Sure. And then the other one is, I mean, you saw this coming from a mile away, X spells. So there's a few that are really cool. That are not ways of winning. I probably should have mentioned these earlier, but there's one that's called the Animist's Awakening. It's X and a green. It says reveal the top X cards of your library. Put all land cards from among them into the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. But if you have spell mastery, which the probability is high, if there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, untap those lands.
Oh, cool.
So pretty much you only spent 1 green. You're only down 1 green.
Yeah, fuck it.
From when that goes off. I would say that the 2 X spells that I liked the most were Comet Storm and then Jaya's Immolating Inferno. Comet Storm because it's instant speed and it can be kicked and then spread out, and then Jaya is just because the mana to damage ratio is just the best of a lot of X spells.
Yeah, and then you now have 6 targets with the twin, right?
And don't be like us and cast Jaya's Immolating Inferno without
a legendary permanent.
Yeah, this never made it into Mizzix. Like I don't have a Mizzix X spells thing. You were the first person to ever shoot that spell. But imagine that, right? Whatever mana you put in, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you get the twin porn going off, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like it's probably enough to
now it's becoming a whole
to
dance
shove us out of the
thing.
game. There's one kind of like maybe win con, depending on how we can structure our mana base.
How do you maybe win, Andy?
Well, it just depends on how much lands we pulled out of our library, and how many basics we've put in. So there's Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Valakut. So it shows mostly up in mono red decks.
Yeah. So this is a land.
Yeah. So Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. It enters the battlefield tapped, but then it says whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut the Molten Pinnacle deal 3 damage to target creature or player. So Boundless Realms.
That's fucking crazy.
Boundless Realms would basically, you would only grab the remainder of your mountains and go 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and just push somebody out of the game.
That's funny.
That other one, the Nissa one, the X spell I talked about earlier, the Animus Awakening.
Yeah,
you could get lucky with that maybe. Yeah, I guess I want to say there is ways to go specifically grab it because it's not basic. So we have Pier's Whim. We'll go grab it. Hour of Promise. We'll go grab it and one other.
Sure.
And that other one, the Sylvan Scrying. You could add another one in there with crop rotation to sack like a forest to go grab Valakut.
Oh yeah.
Or sack a mountain and go grab. Well, you don't want to sack mountains because you want to control 5 before it goes off.
Sure, but sack something.
So I say maybe win con because it depends on how many mountains are loaded into the deck, how many you've tutored out on the way up, how many you've just naturally drawn into because this is kind of like a blowout thing. But I still think it's worth the slot.
I mean, 3 damage for each instance is going to be
so
that's enough.
49% of the deck is red and 47% is green. So you're going to want mountains here. And honestly, like
that's fucking dope.
You would probably be tutoring forests a lot of the time, leading maybe once you have like 2 mountains, stop tutoring them. I don't know. That could fuck you over a little bit, like with some of these effects. Because you want to chain off red spells. So that's why I say maybe.
Yeah.
Because 3's a lot and it's any creature. And let's set this low to the ground. Let's say we only have maybe like 4 triggers off of it.
Yeah.
It's still 12 fucking damage.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
And if it doesn't kill somebody, you can spread them out.
Sure.
So you can remove
that's enough damage that it could be worthwhile with what you're doing in this deck. Like at the very least, like getting people closer. Yeah, potential finisher.
Okay, last thing that needs said. A well-placed counterspell will completely fuck you over with this deck. So I don't have them loaded in the original list because that's meta dependent, right? If you're in a meta that's, you probably are. I mean, it's a favored color in this format, but whatever. We'll just withhold judgment from the dickheads you play with and just assume that you don't.
Sure.
But if you do play with those bastards that just can't wait to counter your fun, we'll probably need ways to provision against it. So mentioning Vexing Shusher again would be a good idea. He is a goblin. He is multicolored, so it helps with. He contributes. He's a pretty good conspirator. His ability doesn't require him to be untapped. Yeah, and he also himself cannot be countered, which is important. So it's a hybrid red, hybrid green for a creature goblin shaman. Vexing Shusher can't be countered. You can pay either red or a green. It says target spell can't be countered by spells or abilities. Yeah. So once you're ready to do this, you just shove it on, and now you strap the language, Jaya's Immolating Inferno, blah, 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 about legendary creatures. Don't forget it, or you scrub your fucking gameplay video, and it's also
can't be countered.
Yeah. So he's pretty awesome. Autumn's Veil is another one. I don't know. It's green. It's an instant. It says spells you control can't be countered by blue or black spells this turn, and creatures you control can't be the target of blue or black spells this turn also.
Yeah.
So it just kind of like is a weird. Give me a moment. If you shoot this one though, it's pretty telecast what you're about to do. All right, I'm gonna pay a green to do this, and then now the blue player's like, I'm gonna counter Autumn's Veil, huh? You know, but they ate a counter spell.
Yeah, they did.
You know, if they do nothing, they're like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, they have to have 2 to respond to your ass. Pyroblast, I like this card a lot because even by itself, without any need to stop a counter, it's just you can kill something. So it's 1 red. It says choose 1 counter target spell if it's blue, or destroy target permanent if it's blue. And it's a functional reprint of it with this person with the old art's freaking nuts. It looks like a stained glass fireball, but the new one, the hand gesture is very strange. I don't know if she's missing her index finger or something, or but it's red elemental blast. It's 1 red, choose 1, counter target blue spell, or destroy target blue permanent. And yeah, they just barely reprinted in that, you know.
I don't think I've ever noticed that. With the finger, that it's just like.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the fire or what, but her finger's like, unless it's like some character from the lore that we don't know about that's doing that, you know, that's missing a finger. I don't know. AP would know that.
I had a teacher in junior high that was missing like half of their pointer finger like that.
Dude, there's a guy at my work that's missing his ring finger. It got torn out by the pulp or the root. He was at like some wedding, and I guess.
Oh wait,
you remember him?
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he like knows everybody's name. You know, he was at like a wedding, and like I guess he was stepping down.
Didn't he get like his ring caught?
He was stepping down from like a step or something, and he had his hands up on like a gutter because he's a tall guy, like a rain gutter.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like the weight of the as he was stepping down or what,
just snagged.
He pulls his hand down, and his finger has been ripped out.
Like it's
like the
just
carpal or whatever,
totally
whatever
back
the
into
structure
his
that
wrist.
leads up to your wrist, like the whole thing. Because if you look at his hand, he's got this like huge scar. I could be wrong, but his son told me that because we worked with him. Parker, you out there?
I remember Parker.
You out there, Parker? Yeah. So, yeah, Parker. But yeah, he told me that. It just
guys.
That he just ripped his hand out. I think, or his finger out. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Fidelkin Ori also could be pretty good against the blue player. I probably should just say that. I don't.
Oh, always.
You know, really, it's just good all around for this specifically because it lets you do. But you know, fuck that, dude. Just don't waste your 4 mana on.
Yeah,
you know,
just go in. Just put it in, dude.
Like, don't. I don't know. I just put that in there.
You've already got twin on twin action. Like, who's being cautious?
I'm all about that.
Who's being cautious, dude?
So how do we feel about Gruul?
So I'm actually like, we didn't talk about this, like what our experience is with it, both in terms of the meta.
Oh yeah, we forgot our decorum. Very low.
I've only built Halar in the past in terms of EDH. I did build back in original Innistrad. I did have a werewolf deck.
A werewolf deck?
I did do that. I was that guy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, why wouldn't you, dude? That was the time to do it.
Yeah, right. You know? It was there. It was available.
It wasn't amazing then, and it isn't now.
Not amazing now. But I think
Kessig Wolf Run was though. Damn, that shit was.
That shit was hot.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of interesting things available in Gruul. The thing I think that makes you and I probably resistant to it is how creature dependent it has a tendency to be. Like the stuff that you and I both just discussed, like board wipes utterly fuck, right? Like if you don't have your conspirators for you,
it's a problem.
You're fucked.
Yeah, it's a problem. A little bit.
My whole Nikya deck, like,
and she's 6 mana.
Yeah, it's 6 mana.
It's like if she dies, it's like
you pretty much have to play that path of lots of ramp in your deck, right?
You gotta hurry. Yeah, you gotta hurry and just keep getting mana. If you die, go, well, at least I've got a buttload of other. I mean, if anyone has like any changes to this deck, like I bet they'll say, I don't think it was enough. The 7 and the 3 and the 2, like I needed some more because I left out like explosive vegetation, like some that were just like the mana. Yeah. And that circuitous route. I was like, I don't know if I want those 2 gates. I'd rather them be like 2 more mountains for Valakut, potentially.
Sure.
But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like it's
creature dependent.
It's creature dependent, but it's so intriguing. It's got that red aspect of it, of like you're trying to really aggressively play it out, and you're just trying to race and see if you get there before everybody else gets to you.
Yeah, Gruul has that alluring, like I don't know, there's just something like Bob Ross, man. Like you can tell he experienced something out in the wild somewhere, and he's bringing it back, and you can tell, dude. You can like see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he knows how to personify all of it.
Yeah, even though like there's not a drop of red in that guy for sure. Well, he's pretty passionate, but yeah, like there's just something alluring about this color pairing. There's something alluring about some of the commanders. They like this one. It's just instance of sorceries,
Yeah, but
mostly
I think
sorcery. But
to kind of like circle back to where we started, I think green just stabilizes it so well.
yeah, it is the alpha position.
But then you can kind of use red to be the flash, like, and it's fun. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. So what's up next? What do we?
We got one guild
We
left.
have one guild left.
And we saved the best for last.
We didn't. Did we?
Oh,
Okay.
depends on who you are, I guess.
But our buddy's coming for that. Yeah.
yeah, we got Austin coming on.
Hell yeah.
So
All right.
we're excited for that.
I still got to figure out that list. I'm sure he's knowing that guy like been prepared for weeks. And
Yeah, he sent us his homework already. So
that does not surprise me that he did that. But yeah, that'll be cool. I'm ready for that one.
dope, dude.
In the meantime, let's go watch some twin porn together, dude. For the first time, I've watched porn with a man in the room. I've never understood.
I don't understand that either. Like,
Dude, I had this guy. There was
you know what we should do for a team bonding activity? Let's look at porn with each other.
we went from trying not to swear to completely devolving, talking about incestuous relationships and twin porn. Like
We gotta earn that fucking explicit, dude.
yeah. Sorry, Grandma. Almost there. We're nearly done with the guild cycle. What a ride it's been, yeah? Next up is the last stop, Azorius Senate. For real this time. Better be there for that, because we are going to have everybody's favorite card in the 99. It's Austin from the Commander at 99. The music you're chilling out to right now is by Silver Richards. The song is called Sunset from the album Volume 128. Seek their stuff out on Bandcamp if you can, because they are seriously generous for letting us use their smooth tunes. Well, thanks again for listening. It really means the world to Kyle and I. Take care, and we will see you again.
Shoot, we gotta finish painting. Really hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a lot of fun. That mountain will give you a little challenge, but it'll teach you how to use all the equipment and to make some fantastic effects. So, until next time, from all of us here, happy painting and God bless.